Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Everyday Grind, where we come to share our experiences, learn from each other, and stay aware of the events that is happening around us. I'm your host, William Obiano, and today we're going to be talking about the state of our economy and how the banks are actually going about it. So, if you a quick plug, if you would like to follow on social media and have a chat about this, we can do that on Twitter and Instagram at William Obiano. So let's get right into it. Now, banks usually have their earnings during the final quarter of the year. So, as of October, November, and the December period, they actually put together their reports to share the insights on, the type of risk they're going to be taking based on the current economic situation. Now they have access to all the different economic sectors because they've basically seen all our credit card expenses and the businesses that might come to them to ask for loans. So based on how people are actually paying back their loans, they know the information that they will actually need to make their next investments. But here's the thing that we actually need to know ever since this inflation actually started. The banks have been taking like a serious spin on their financial reports. They've been saying that the prices of things that have been going up is making it harder and harder for people to come in and borrow money. And because they can't borrow money, this actually makes them lose out a lot in terms of like their potential profit margins and revenue generation. It's making them have less money than they usually have because also not all the customers are would able to be spending as much. So the money they will be making from the interest has also gone down basically. So all of this is actually making it very hard for them to predict, how they will actually make their next move. And then because this has actually happened, they faced these challenges, and it's not even the first time that is happening to them. But based on how the economy has been, they wouldn't stop lending because it's part of their core business model. Despite the fact that things are not so good for them, they will still have to lend because they do need to generate revenue. They still also need to make some profits, and it's important that the banks are actually functioning because they are one of the most important sectors in the economy on how things are actually leveled out. And they're important for also managing financial stability as well. So you can imagine by people actually coming to the banks and lending money, they'll be able to run their businesses, which would actually cause the economy to keep booming. But since this has been happening, they've stopped giving out too much money like that because people are defaulting on their mortgage loans, people are defaulting on their auto loans and on their credit card loans as well. So they would have to minimize the number of loans that they will be giving out. And typically, how they do this is, it depends on the strategy, but some of the ways that they do this is that they might actually work together with their customers, especially from the customer facing side of things. They work together with the customer to see how they can, create a plan that will help that customer actually come up with a strategy to pay off their loans. So they might actually maybe look at the interest rates and decide maybe they would want to reduce the amounts of interest that they put in on the customer's head, or they might just use some of their emergency funds to cover up for the customer that is defaulting on their loans, so they don't actually go out of business. Now, based on all of these processes that has been going on, they are having records of all this and they take a look at it during their financials. And if they are seeing that things are not going well when the economy is in this type of state, it will make them have like lower their expectations on any of the new businesses that might come out. And these businesses might not, they will be very picky since they're seeing all of the different businesses from each of the sectors. They'll be very picky on where they would want to put in their next investment. And even if they are even putting the investment, they are not so optimistic that this is going to generate them 2x, 3x, maybe 5x the returns. Some of them are even running in the negative. Now, why is all of this important to us? Well, the banks have a process, they have a strategy on how they want to make money. And by understanding what the banks are doing, we can actually do the same thing. So if the banks are actually managing their risks by not investing in a lot of businesses, it's going to be smart for us to actually do the same thing. So it's like whatever investments that we're looking on, we need to be sure that it's going to have a positive ROI, else we would rather hold on to our money and wait just as the banks are waiting. And they also, regardless of the situation, they are still lending out money, right? So this shouldn't mean that we should not still make some investments, but we have to be very, very careful to ensure that the amount of risk that we put in on any of our investments should be really low. Say, for example, if you want to buy houses or you want to get a house to rent out, you need to be very careful on the type of house you're buying, because it could be expensive and You might end up going to go buy a house right now or buy an apartment right now just for it to fall in price when the inflation actually goes down. So we need to be very, very strategic about how we're going to be making our investments, right? And finally, the thing is the banks are actually stashing a lot of cash right now because, again, they are not very certain on which businesses are actually going to be doing so well during this period. So they are stashing on cash. That means we should also stash on cash as much as we can. And when there is an opening in the market, we dive in, would have cash on hand to actually make any of those investment. Things would even be cheap at that period. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is how they're actually doing it. It's important for us to also be very, very mindful about how much money we're putting in again. It's very important so we don't go in and just losing. You need proper planning, you need proper strategy. And if you have a banker friend, talk to them because they know what's going on. They are working from the inside. So, with that, I hope you actually gain some value from this. If you would like to follow on socials, again, you can reach me on William Obiana. I'm open to having that chat with you. And stay careful, stay disciplined, and have a wonderful one. Bye bye.